July of this year, I moved from Vienna to a much smaller town here in Austria called Innsbruck. In the new apartment, it's the first time for me that I have a room for myself that I can turn into an office/photography and YouTube studio, which has been a little dream of mine for a while. So I've spent the last 2 months making this space, and in this video I want to give you a little office/studio tour to show you around and maybe offer you some inspiration for your space. At least that's why I watch a lot of office tour videos. Anyway, let's begin. Let's get one thing straight. I'm not a minimalist, and I cannot stand empty white walls. I guess that was kind of obvious from the start of this video, but just so you know what you're getting yourself into. So I have been thinking and dreaming of how I would like to make my own space for a while, and with all the things I value in mind, this is what it has become so far. So what do I value? Something that I knew is important to me is that the room feels comforting and cozy. I spend most of my time in this room working on projects and especially the videos on this YouTube channel. So it was important to me to make it feel very me. I want to make a place where I love to spend my time. However, in addition, there are 2 other values that were very important to me when making this room. One is inspiration. Apart from the room feeling cozy, I wanted to be inspiring and have art from photographers whose work I enjoy, or even photographs from myself, so that I'm surrounded by art that I strive to make more of. Lastly, I value pragmatism. I want the office to be very functional as well. This, of course, can be a bit challenging to balance with the other 2, but that was a challenge I was willing to accept, and so the office is not optimized to the max to be functional, but it does have many functional characteristics to not only enable, but encourage creative work. So with that clarified, let's have a closer look. I suggest that we do a 360-degree walk, beginning at the door and my desk, and then moving counterclockwise. So this is the entrance, and to the right is my desk. The door isn't that interesting, I've just attached a couple hooks to hang a few bags for quick access. Apart from that, this corner is a bit empty because I think it'd be a shame actually to put too much here, seeing as my door is usually open, so you can't really see this area anyway. Oh, and this here is a little drawing project Melly and I have on a big paper that is attached to my door. We've been slacking on it recently, but actually the idea is to add a little something every day so that over time the whole paper becomes a big detailed canvas with lots of fun details. When someone comes to visit, we let them add to the drawing as well so that we end up with a nice mix of little artworks. Anyway, enough about this corner, let's move on to the left here where my desk stands, which is the place within the room itself where I spend most of my time usually writing or editing. The desk itself is a DIY thing I put together myself a couple years ago already. The 2 times we moved, I took it apart and brought it with me to reassemble in the new home. It's a very simple build actually. In the local hardware shop, I bought 4 of these wooden crates and simply screwed them together. I also bought this piece of wood, which at the shop I could just ask them to cut off a certain length. And then I screwed the crates to the wood and turned it around to create this desk table. What I love about this is that I can kind of customize bits of it and the crates function as storage. So here on the left I keep notebooks, sketchbooks and other stuff. Here on the right I also keep a couple things, not as much though, and I consider open spaces like here a good thing to have for when time comes that I need to store something that doesn't have a place to live yet. However, very important on this side is this power board that I also screwed to the wooden crate, and I use this to charge anything that isn't camera related. Most of the time it's my phone, but there are a couple other things such as my wireless speakers and stuff like that. On the desk itself, you can easily recognize that I'm not exactly the hyper-clean minimalist desk kind of guy. On the left, I have 2 more crates, which are a bit smaller, which I just stacked on top of each other to make better vertical use of space. This is where I have a sort of exhibition of random stuff that mostly reminds me of home and my family. Then the rest of the desk is actually my working setup. I have the desktop on the right. I can't really tell you what this is. I bought this second-hand from a private market here in Austria. I'll put up some specs on screen in case you're interested. Then here is my monitor in the middle. I just use one, I don't really need more than that. This monitor is a 27-inch Full HD monitor I also bought second-hand on the good old Wilhelm.at marketplace 3 or so years ago. Honestly, I'm craving an upgrade. This really isn't the best. It's sufficient, but I do often think that for my work I would actually benefit from an upgrade, but so far I haven't really gotten around to doing that. Then, to actually navigate and use the computer, I of course have a keyboard and a mouse. This keyboard I also bought from the second-hand market. I believe it's an Apple Magic keyboard. I personally don't really like it when keyboards are bulky and loud. I prefer a quieter one, and hence this was a great choice for me. My mouse, for a change, I did not buy secondhand. It's a Roccat Cone Aimo mouse, not sure if I pronounced that correctly. I bought it in Japan because while in Japan my previous mouse was slowly dying and I had to replace it and got this one. I'm a bit picky when it comes to my mouse. I don't really care about the performance, but the feel in my hand and the feeling of the clicking has to be just right for me. And so when buying this, I was trying out all the different mice that were being displayed at the store called Big Camera, and I ended up choosing this one. Also, I did keep my budget in mind, of course. There are some other mice which were really fancy but just too expensive. However, I do not mind spending a fair bit on my mouse because it really makes a huge difference for me to have a high quality mouse when working. Finally, one last key component to my work setup are my headphones, which are the Sennheiser HD569. These have a wonderful sound to my non-audio engineer ears. They're a bit tight for my ears after many hours, but they're fine and the noise cancelling is decent. Anyway, that is my work setup. Let's continue with this here, which has been a recent fantastic upgrade. My monitor doesn't really rise high enough, as do many I believe, so I used to always stack a couple books to get the monitor up to the optimal height. However, I recently got an email from Balolo, a German brand that makes super high quality monitor stands and other desk accessories, and they asked whether I'd be interested in their products. This was just while I was moving in, and so the timing couldn't have been much better. The product looked fantastic, and so after a nice chat with the team, we agreed to work together. So this video is sponsored by them. They sent me this and I can seriously only praise them. They promise quality and I can genuinely approve of that. I got the Setup Cockpit Medium, which is a little table for your monitor. The fun part, however, is that you can add extras to your cockpit. So I configured the perfect setup that suits me and what I do, which is this here. Attached to the cockpit, I have a headphone stand, which is something I've been wanting for ages because I just didn't have a good spot to put my headphones when I'm not wearing them. And then I also added this shelf, and inside I placed these drawers that they offer in a size that neatly fits inside of this shelf. They send you these extras separately and you simply screw the parts together. And so now I finally have dedicated spots where certain little things live which previously didn't have a home. For example, here I keep my SD card case and my SD card reader. These were always annoying me because they'd just lie around on my desk somewhere and often be in the way. Now they finally have a place to be. In the other drawers, I keep other things that I often need quick access to. Anyway, huge thank you to Balolo for sending me this setup and massively upgrading my desk. Please do check them out if you need any desk accessories. Anyway, that pretty much sums up my desk setup. A couple more things worth pointing out are the following. I have this box here with a bunch of film canisters which I always keep to repurpose at some point when I have an idea, and this is one of those ideas. I've stuck them to the bottom of this cardboard box and now they act as my cable holder for all the different cables that I have and occasionally use. Most of these are hard drive cables, so anytime I need something from a hard drive, I can simply pick out the right cable from here without needing to look through a messy box of Kabelsalat, as my German friends would say. And then here are my hard drives. I sadly haven't figured out a super cool and efficient way for data storage and backups. I just have a bunch of hard drives that I've been collecting over the years. Most live in this little box that I've amateurishly divided with some cardboard. While I think this is kind of cute, I do believe I should start thinking of a better way to handle data storage at some point in the near future. Something I decided to add to my desk since moving here are the table on the right and the little cupboard on the left. The desk alone felt a bit lonely by itself, the sides looked so empty, so I decided to add some storage possibilities by adding these two pieces to my desk. While they were originally intended for storage, I also enjoy how they create more surface for me to add plants and lamps, which I was still missing on this side of the room. So on the little table, I have a yellow desk lamp that's clamped to the table and illuminates this area by bouncing its light off the wall. And I added this plant. On the left side, I can proudly present this basil, which I successfully revived after it looked pretty rough. Also, I'm growing some spring onions here, which has been working surprisingly well. And then this little pot here is my newest addition. These little ones are tomatoes. However, planting these in September is not giving me the best odds for success, but we'll see. Lastly, I also have a lamp on this side. By the way, both of these lamps, the table and the cupboard are all from that second-hand marketplace. I basically buy half of my stuff there, it's such a gem. I think every Austrian can relate. Oh, I totally forgot this chair too. Anyway, the last interesting part about this side of the room is the art that surrounds the setup. The most noticeable, I guess, is the huge map of Japan, which many of you probably recognize. I bought this in Tokyo to use as a prop in a couple videos. Now it has retired and lives on my wall. Here are 2 photographs I took, which you also might remember from previous videos, and here are some smaller pieces that I've collected over the years. Oh, and here are a few of the postcards that I send out to the patrons every month. Alright, I think we've covered this side extensively. Let's finally move on to the left. This is my secondary workspace. Shortly after moving, I bought this table at, you guessed it, that secondhand marketplace. It's a beautiful old table that can extend its length, which I'm making full use of. So what do I mean by secondary workspace? Basically, my desk is for editing and this table is for anything else. It's quite tough to use my desk as a table because there's just not much space, but now I have this space, which is where I sit in meetings, where I brainstorm ideas in my notebook, where I scan film, where I record B-roll when needed, and all sorts of stuff like that. But beyond that, it is also another surface area where I can have a lot of fun with decorations, items that mean something to me, or as you can see, plants. This is a plant that I grew from a bigger one that has now become so big that it has its own pot. Here are 5 jars, which are propagations of this plant up here. Let's see how big these grow. This lamp, by the way, for a change, is not from that Austrian second-hand market. It's actually an old lamp my parents weren't using anymore, and so my mum gave it to me, and I think it looks great here. This big one here is a new addition that I have been having some struggles with, but I think it's doing alright now. Oh, and next to the plant lives my old laptop that I sometimes use for work when I need to work on a train or elsewhere, and for online meetings, which I do here because my desktop doesn't have a webcam. And this beautiful stand here, by the way, is also by Bololo and feels just as fantastic as the other products I already showed you. And then over here is the corner, which is a bit more crowded. To gain extra surface area, I bought these 2 small wooden boxes to place a piece of wood on top where some random stuff such as souvenirs have their place now. And then here is my charging station. I'm not entirely satisfied with the current situation yet, but this is what it's like at the moment. The process still isn't as seamless as I'd like it to be, but I'm making progress when compared to my previous charging stations. Below the table isn't that interesting. I use the space for storage. I keep my 2 camera bags here, a toolbox, and my lights softbox. The light stand that holds this softbox lives over here in the corner. Lastly, let's quickly check out the art on this side of the room, which is all here in the corner. I've been filling up this pinboard with all sorts of memories and souvenirs. And here's a big print of one of my favorite shots from Kyoto. And down here are 2 Instax prints by Satomi Sugiyama, who makes wonderful double exposure photographs on film of her cats. On this side, I just have one of many prints I made of my tile series. Oh, and one more item which has a lot of people tilt their heads is this slippery warning sign. This was a prop for my film about floors, however you'll never spot it in the film because I was stupid enough to just forget it. And so now it just lives here as a weird piece of decoration that sometimes sparks a conversation. Let's move on to the opposite side of my desk, where we enter the side of the room that actually has much less. The main thing on this side is this lovely cupboard that I got once we moved in here. By now, you should be able to guess where I bought this. This cupboard is split into an upper, middle and lower compartment. The upper compartment is decorated with most notably this little poster print by Satomi Sugiyama. This is the print that I actually bought. The little Instax prints were just some cute extras that she added to the package. The upper compartment is my camera storage, where I keep all my cameras, both analog and digital, all my lenses, and a couple accessories. If you're interested in the cameras, you can watch my video about my film camera collection, because if we start talking about these, this video would just end up taking way too long. The middle compartment I love so much because the door becomes an extra little table, and this has come in handy a lot of times already because I have a little table problem, I guess. I just keep needing more tables. In here, I have my scanning setup stored away, which I only get out for when I need to scan, which isn't that frequent that a constant setup would be necessary. Apart from that, this middle compartment stores a lot of pretty random stuff, including a lot of tape. And a fun detail worth pointing out, I think, is my film camera release cable that lives here hanging from a nail that I hammered into the inside wall here. As you might have noticed, I love hammering nails into wood to create hooks, hence I have a total of 5 nails on my desk, not counting these. And then down here in the lower compartment, I just store away all sorts of stuff. A few gear related things such as camera straps, my 35mm film is down here, the postcards that I send to my Patreons every month are here, and a box of envelopes for those postcards, and other stuff like that. Over here on this side of the cupboard, I have a new little project of mine. Since I've begun shooting film, I've actually kept almost all the boxes because I like the design. I only ever threw away the triple packs because of their size. Anyway, I was keeping those packs in some random box for a while, but then here I decided to finally make some sort of decoration with them, and so here is my growing collection of film boxes displayed on the side of my cupboard. Next to the cupboard lives, or I hope it's alive, this tree, which was gifted to me by a friend's mum. When I visited their place, she somehow noticed my love for indoor plants and showed me a tree that was growing a bit too big, so she was wanting to cut a part away. According to her, simply replanting the cutting can work as a propagation, and so she gave me this piece of the tree, and I'm currently trying to keep it alive. And then down here is my coffee table that accompanies the sofa on this side of the room. This old looking piece I of course again bought from Wilhelm. I only just bought it, so I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with it yet. I have a couple photo books on it, which is alright, but I think I'd actually like to find a better place to put the books. Also, I think the table was missing a plant or two. But you have to know, the studio is still a work in progress, but it's about 90% done. Mostly, it's just this corner here that I'm not satisfied with yet. The main purpose of this space is seating and relaxation, hence it is mostly taken up by my yellow sofa. The sofa still feels a little empty, maybe lacking a cushion or two. This little blanket belongs to Luna, Mellie's cat that often enjoys a nap in the office. Above the sofa, I had a lot of empty white space, and so I decided to start filling it. At the moment, it is looking alright, but still a bit incomplete. These are two big prints from an exhibition I did a couple years ago with my uni. The project I exhibited is called Masking Materials, and here are two of the in total 30 images of the photo series. Then here I have one of 3 artworks by my friend Isaac, who made 3 beautiful pieces for my short film I shot in 2021. After finishing the film, I of course kept the art, and one of the pieces is now hanging here, whereas the other 2 I just haven't found an ideal spot yet. Then here are just some random little things. The photographs were taken by me, and this painting I bought from a local artist in Lisbon back in 2019. Finally, here is one more print by Satomi, which she also sent me as a gift on top of the poster I ordered. As said, this side of the room still feels a little incomplete. I'm not quite sure what to do, but maybe add a shelf on top of the door for some more plants. Actually, why just one shelf? Maybe just another one on the wall somewhere here? I don't know, if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. Anyway, that concludes my office/studio tour. I hope you enjoyed this and could possibly take something of value from this video. Before saying goodbye, I want to give a warm thank you to each and everyone who is supporting me in my work on Patreon. Thank you so much for the support. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, extra videos such as color grading tutorials or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also down there, I have a link to my print shop in case that is of interest to you. With that said, I wish you a wonderful day and I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.